A real pleasure to be with you here in beautiful Venice. Huge congrats on this, your second feature. For people who haven't seen it yet though, could you give us a brief introduction in your own words? What can they expect when they come to watch it?
So A Year of School is my second feature film and it's coming of age. It's settled in Trieste in 2007, specifically in a class of guys only, which is weird already. There is a Swedish girl that joins them for the last year of school.
And I mean, you had such success with Small Body, an absolutely phenomenal film, but could be not be more different from this one in terms of its setting, its feel. It's more kind of a fairy tale, if you like, or a folk tale, obviously set in a completely different era. When you were coming to decide what to do for your follow-up film, was it intentional to go in a completely different direction, or was it the novel that you discovered that you then adapted for this one that sort of caught your attention? How did this film come about?
I think it involves, the answer involves both the options, because I read the novel when I was attending high school, which happened to be the same high school where the story of the novel is settled. So there is a lot of meta-narration here, because I was reading it in the classroom, and I was the same age of the characters, and I was kind of experiencing similar dynamics, since even though my class was mixed, of course, because it's more common, I was privileged enough to be the only girl admitted to a gang of 3 guys. So it came with hidden pressures, of course, but it was a privilege as well. So this is where the idea comes from. But also, this is not my first feature, so it's not something that I kept in my purse for a long time, like, this is going to be the first thing I want to talk about. What happened is that after Piccolo Corpo, after Small Body, I really needed, because it's my dearest son, of course, it's my first one, but it has been so painful working on it, so painful. And I really needed to find some light again. And I thought being with teenagers might be the easiest way.
And so was it almost like a melding of sort of the themes and some of the aspects that were in the 1929 novella, but then maybe infused with some like autobiographical details? Was it kind of, how did you transplant it, I guess, into 2007?
Well, the reason why I chose it is because I got graduated in 2008. So if I think about 19 years old people, I think about low-waist jeans and StarTAC telephone and no socials. So that was like easier to me to think about it. And yeah, there are some autobiographical things, not with such heavy consequences. So despite from being, not only being the only girl in the gang, but also a lot of jokes that are in the film, a lot of like the secret language of the gang is definitely the same language, same private language that my gang was using.
And I wondered, even in terms of where you see it sitting within a genre, it's sort of grabbing onto bits of coming of age stories, but there's also hints of comedy in there. Did you have other films in mind as well that were perhaps infusing the look and feel of the film?
There were mostly photographs, I think, so static images, but with such an energy. There is a German photographer, which I love, Josh Kern, and together with Ines Tabaran, the director of photography, we felt in love with his work, and this was literally what we aimed to have in terms of image and energy with the gang as well. Yeah, I guess there is a French film, Le Péril Jeune, that has obsessed. I watched it thanks to the French producer, but the French producer is producing this film, so it was something that arrived later on in the process. I think it's more based about personal experiences, yeah.
And tell us about your casting process, because it's hard to believe that these are all, I think, newcomers, right, to the screen. So did you kind of do almost like a street casting? And it was really going to live or die, on the chemistry between these 4, and of course, particularly on Stella's performance. So how did you discover these 4 teenagers, and how did you work with them to achieve your vision?
There was a very long and accurate process of street casting, and also casting in the high schools in the city. So we found the 3 guys in this way. So 2 of them were working as bartenders in 2 different bars. The guy who plays Mitis was still in high school, and he got like a math interview right in the moment when we entered the classroom, and his reaction was so happy and enthusiastic and blow-minding that we were like, we have to know more about this guy. While Stella Vendick, so the girl who's playing Fred, is from Stockholm. She has been casted thanks to a casting based in Stockholm. She was still attending high school as well, and she was studying acting and script writing.
And did you kind of work with them, I guess, finding this tone? Because there are moments which can almost feel like she's quite under threat, when she's like first entering, onto that basketball court, and there's sort of, or they steal her clothes from the bathroom. But then there are other moments that feel much more carefree and frivolous, and you sort of see these moments of joy when she's sort of slowly being accepted into their group. So did you kind of work with them to discover that fine line between moments of seriousness and earnestness and more moments of fun and joy?
Yeah, definitely. We were trying to find a balance and also to talk with a light tone about sad things and also sometimes violent and heavy stuff, because this is how teenagers do. I think that in the process of growing up, we unbox ourselves, so we become more polite. We want to be socially acceptable. And in the moment when you're a teenager or a young adult, it's pretty easier to be in contact with your feelings. So I wanted to keep that paradox of being both friends and not enemies, but being not the good guys sometimes, but also being tender, because no one is just one thing or another.
And I wondered if that was also really reflective of the era. I mean, you're slightly younger than me, so I would have been at school a bit younger, but I definitely remember that era where you did want to keep up with the guys, and sort of the concept of feminism wasn't the same back then, or your awareness of it, or what it means to maybe sort of feel physically threatened or be objectified, like her body is often kind of a point of objection. So was that also key to kind of make it true to that era? People didn't even have the language necessarily to be able to even come back at the lads at school, perhaps teasing them. So was that something very specific to when you grew up at that time?
But I think, and maybe this is why because I'm Italian, that a lot of things are still the same. So even though we gain a language to name things, the behaviors are still the same. And there is a lot of whatever washing nowadays. So there is also, there is more awareness, definitely. And the situation is better than yesterday, but it's still worse than tomorrow, I would say. But some behaviors are still the same. Some bias are still the same. Basically, the fact that I think we desire the very same things, no matter what's the body we are in. I'm literally talking about body here. According to the body you have, you're allowed or not allowed to express your desire or to choose, for example. So this is my experience, but I guess it's pretty universal, the fact of being asked about how can you at the same time have a family and work? Are you asking the same question to guys as well? Because this is conveying an attitude, I would say.
And ultimately, what do you hope people will leave the cinema with after watching your movie? I mean, it does feel to me like, a complete nostalgia hit, probably because I lived through the same time, that era where you didn't have smartphones and, you're listening to music with wired earphones. So there's kind of that definite kind of taking you back in time to when you've maybe been growing up, but perhaps hitting on some of these questions, about feminism, about masculinity. What did it mean then? Have things progressed as much as we think they have now? So what do you think some of those questions might be?
Usually I wish that everyone does a solitary travel in the film, because this is the way I like to be treated as a part of the audience. I think they will get out of the cinema with more questions rather than answers. And yes, of course, there might be some nostalgia according to what's the era you've been growing up and so on. But maybe with some forgiveness for someone that we left behind in order to survive, in order to become who we were meant to be. So maybe with some forgiveness.
And what does it mean to you to have the film here at Venice Film Festival? And do you already know what you might work on next?
It's amazing to be in Venice because it's the first festival I attended in my life. So I started coming here when I was 18, so the age of the main characters of the film. And I attended it since that time. And I don't know what's up next because I'm still in the bubble of this amazing experience. Also to see them here in this huge festival, it's beyond every imagination.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
Huge congrats on the movie and really enjoy presenting it here in Venice. Thanks so much.
Thank you.